So when we look at Esav, from the same point, 1948, until today, how many presidents were there? Would we believe? Also 12. There were 12 presidents from 1948, whoever it was, I don't have the list here, until Bush, the last Bush, interesting, G.W. G.W. Bush was number 12, okay? They represent Esav, which I just have to say because this is going to clarify. It basically represents, when we say America, it's really Western civilization, which really is, as religion-wise, Christianity. That represents Esav. That's why the Christianity and the Jews for 2,000 years have been battling it out. It's really the Esav-Yaakov fight for 2,000 years. That's what's been going on. Okay, so America was basically from Europe, which was Christian, and moved here, right? So it's really, that's the religion of the place, really. It's Christianity. And we'll, maybe not so today, but we're going to get into that. So 12, it's interesting, Bush was the 12th. It's almost like we start with GW, and we end with GW. Who's GW? George Washington. We started with GW, and it ended with GW. I wonder if that's some kind of a sign too. So when there's 12, that's the end. Just like Yaakov will end at 12, which we did not see yet, because Netanyahu is still there. He's holding spot number 12. Esav had its number 12. Its number 12 was Bush. But wait a minute. America's not doomed and over and everything. There's still, the presidency continues. But no, not so fast. Esav, Christianity, has ended as far as the presidential seat, because a new religious person of a different religion sat on it. Now, all part of the Islam takeover in many parts of the world and many understandings now is heightening. So we see that Esav in heaven, if you look at Mr. Esav in heaven, he lost his seat, he lost his throne, he's been kaput. Now with the president, now Islam rules. Yishmael is now on the seat.
Hussein.
You see? Right. Between Esav and Yishmael, the sons from up there, from our family, like I said once, Yishmael has taken over, which means Esav's seat has gone. So there you have it, Esav's death. Esav has died. He's really not in charge anymore up there. Yishmael is in charge, and he does his thing, whatever it is, until the end, which is a very short amount of time. It's not like we have now years to get through Yishmael. He's just a small amount of time. So Yaakov is on the way out. Of course, the era of Yaakov, and it comes at the same time. They started with 1948 to be 12, and at the same time they're ending, which means while his term of this president is still on, what does it mean they're going to die at the same time? Has to be the same time. So it means while he's still president, the other side probably must go, which is the Israel side, which is something to do where the government will switch to be religious. There was a switchover in the American government. There'll be a switchover in the Israel government. And that's the two sides. Esav and Yaakov work together. You see, just Esav seemed to have went first. Yaakov will follow suit.
But that has to do the first princes were Esav when they died. And then
That's true. I wonder if that can fit in here. But that actually has something, is another thing. But you can always, play around and see what fits. Okay, a quick tangent, but it all fits in at the end. It's going to seem like a new topic, but it's not. We know that at this time, now's the time of the 2 fast days that's coming up, right? Where we say, what destroyed the temple? The famous 2 words, what is it? Sinat chinam, baseless hatred, right? Everybody should know that already. There's speeches and speeches on it. Sinat chinam, baseless hatred. Another word for that is machloket. Machloket means argument. You know, when you see some of these Tisha B'Av videos that they put out, you know, the Chafetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, it's all over. They're always talking about machloket. Stop the machloket, the fighting and the arguments and everything. Now this word machloket is a very interesting word. We know that word from somewhere else. Where do we know that word from? It's like you say that word, it rings a bell. There's something about that word, machloket. You know what it is? When we learn Torah, it's all over the place. Meaning, it's the whole structure of the Talmud, the Gemara. Machloket. It's all machloket. Now obviously it's a good machloket, but it's interesting how on one side of the coin we have machloket, and yet on the other side we have another machloket. So let's try and analyze something. Let's see. Our Torah came to us in different times and in different ways. Meaning, first we had the first 2 tablets. Remember the first 2 tablets? But we never got them. They were smashed.
Yeah.
Moshe smashed them, and Hashem said, congratulations, Chazak Baruch, or Yashar Kochacha. You know, may you have strength. He smashed them, and we don't have them. Those first tablets were the messianic understanding of the Torah. It was the messianic Torah, where you could see from one end of the world to the other. I mean, you could see from down here in our world, and you could see how its representative angel or spiritual force is right above it in Shamayim. That's what it means from one end to the other. It doesn't mean horizontal, it's a vertical. Meaning when it says one world to the, you know, from one side to the other, it means from up to down, not from side to side. And we didn't have that. The next Luchot came, which we have today, which is a dot of that. All the Torah we have with all the commentaries and all the books on the shelf is just a dot of the first 2 tablets. So whatever we think we have, it's really not much. But it's all there. It's not like it's a new Torah. We're not a new religion with a new Torah. It's just the same Torah, but it's like opening the little micro piece that we have until you see the whole thing. Then came, now that's called actually, the first one is called Lishma. And this I heard from Rabbi Shimon Kessin. It's his, original thought, so I have to quote him. Most of what I teach is from the Kessin brothers, Rabbi Mendel Kessin, Rabbi Shimon Kessin. But I don't drop their name always, because how many times am I going to drop their name? But when you say something that literally is a new idea that they kind of come up with, so I have to say their name. So he, again, has a theory that we can call the first 2 Luchot learning Torah Lishma, for its sake, which is the holiest way to learn Torah. Where if we would learn that way, the Mashiach would come. It's really, that is the Messianic Torah, because if we're all learning Lishma, he comes. And he teaches us those first 2 tablets. It's the tablets of Lishma Torah. The second tablets is when we're already not so perfect, we're in a state of low Lishma, which means not so much for the sake of heaven, but we do it, it's good we do it anyway. But it's not the perfect ideal state. And that's what we're in, most of the time. Then came a time in history where the Jews' attitude got even worse. And they didn't only not do it not lishma, they did it what's called, as a Tosafot says in one place in the Gemara, likanter. Means to win the guy over. It's one thing to do it not for the sake of heaven, but you have other personal reasons. But it's another thing to do it because you want to bury your partner. You want to show him how you're right and he's wrong. That's called likanter. And that's even worse than lo lishma. That's better the guy doesn't learn. That's what it says. Better he shouldn't learn. Because he's not learning for any sake. He's trying to just, it's all for his ego totally. Yeah. Now another word for likanter is really sinat chinam. Now we get back to that. When Jews have sinat chinam, and they learn in order to have sinat chinam, That's bad.
Hatred.
And that can destroy a temple, which is what happened. Now, what does it mean to learn with sinat chinam? And even today, obviously today, because I don't say so, God says so. He doesn't bring the temple, so it means He's also admitting that we have sinat chinam today. So I'm just going to try and point it out. Of course, it sounds bad, but that's what we're in, and we hope it sounds bad, so we won't do it anymore. You know, this section doesn't like that section, Ashkenazim, Sephardim, Hasidim, each one, not each one, but whoever it is in them, not everyone's like that, you know, doesn't like this one, they don't like that one, it's not my minhag, not your minhag, we're better than you, and all this kind of stuff. We all know how this feels because we feel it.
But that's not his learning. You say that's
No, the whole thing about a minhag is the learning, because it's a minhag. It's not that my house is better than your house. My Torah minhag is better than yours. So the learning has been what we took, and we corrupted ourselves with it, with the learning itself, not with anything else. You know, it would have been better if I said my curtain is better than your curtain. But to say my Torah is better than your Torah, it's like we took the Torah, God forbid, and threw it into the dumps. How can we do that? That's what became very bad, and God has no tolerance for such a thing.
You think we do that?
Yeah, obviously.
This guy studies Gemara in a way where he shouldn't even study. Yeah.
No, that's why I said, since we have no temple, this is God's testifying that we're still in it. So we're still in it. So what do we need to do? So the way to undo it is to obviously do the opposite, to have ahavat chinam, baseless love. And this whole thing of who's right and who's better and who's this has to kind of go out the window. Hopefully there'll be some kind of a wakening up. And that's what the rabbis try to do on these Tisha B'Av speeches. Just people wake up and stop viewing other minhagim or other Jews or synagogues that they're no good or you're better than them, and this kind of an attitude. This is really what's stopping the Geulah. You know, it's not all the mitzvot in the world. You know, you want to do more, you want to go pray at sunrise, you want to do this and that. All that is not what's keeping it. It's all the hatred that's keeping it. Sometimes we concentrate on all those other things. We want to do more, let's do more this, more that. But that's not what's keeping it. You could do that when he's here, when the Mashiach's here. You could do that when he's not here. It doesn't matter. But the other stuff, the baseless hatred, cannot be done, or the whole process is at a halt. And it's been at a halt for 2,000 years.
You got to come to Kaliba.
So this idea of sinat chinam, so we didn't make the connection yet. This is what's going on. We had sinat chinam at the time of the second temple, right? Because the first was from other reasons we don't have to get into. The 3 cardinal sins. The second was the sinat chinam that we say. But what else happened around the time of the second temple? We had Luchot set number 1, Luchot set, meaning the tablets, set number 2 that came. Luchot set number 3 came down the same time as our Sinat Chinam, Machloket. And I already gave away what that was. The Shas, Gemara. Gemara came, really Mishnah / Gemara, came around the time of the second temple, right? Because they didn't want us to lose it, they wrote it down. But it's a machloket filled Torah. What's the chances we got a machloket filled Torah the same time we all became in machloket? It's no randomness here. The answer is, I'll just say it like this, but then I'll explain. We got